very divergent, very different numbers being floated about the popularity of, or perhaps the support of, Enbridge's Northern Gateway pipeline proposal. Last night, Carroll spoke with a company spokesman who said that 60% of the Aboriginal groups along the route had signed on. He didn't name names, though, and none of those supporters have come forward. And that makes it hard to verify the Enbridge number. Harder still when it's held up against the much smaller figure put forward by BC's coastal First Nations. Their executive director, Art Sterritt, says that he has found only 2 First Nations who have given Enbridge the okay to run its pipeline through their land. We reached Art Sterritt in Vancouver.
Mr. Sterritt, what do you make of Enbridge's 60% figure?
Well, it's a pretty gross exaggeration of the actual facts. I say that because I actually picked up the phone and called First Nations west of Prince George along the pipeline route. And I found out that west of Prince George, there's only 2 First Nations with traditional territory on the pipeline route that have actually signed equity agreements.
And who is that?
The one for sure that I know is Burns Lake, and the other one I think is Yakuchi. So,
well, wait a minute. I thought you said you knew for sure.
Well, I know Burns Lake for sure. I know for sure that 2 on the route have signed. Okay, so let's say Yakuchi and Burns Lake are on the route, and then I know of about 4 others who are not actually on the route that are west of Prince George.
So to be clear, how many altogether have you been in touch with? Since we're hearing that as many as 43 have signed up.
No, even Enbridge, I don't think would say that. I think Enbridge has said that there's something like 43 on the route. That's their number, and that 60% of those have signed up. That's what Enbridge is saying. Our research shows us that out of 13 First Nations west of Prince George who are actually on the pipeline route, who have traditional territory and rights and title, there's only 2. But however, having said that, Enbridge has gone and expanded their swath across British Columbia to 80 kilometers each side of the pipeline, and they've gone out and roped some other folks who actually have nothing to lose into the equation.
Well, let me understand why that's important to you, why that impacts on the figures.
Well, it impacts on the figure because what they've done is they've got equity agreements with First Nations who aren't on the pipeline. I mean, that's not the way things work out here. Aboriginal rights and title, which is what BC First Nations have, and that's what gives them the right to get into agreements and to impact on projects. To go outside of the actual project and get some people to agree with it is just a way to expand your numbers.
Among the people that Enbridge is saying it has signed up are Métis,
right,
as well as nearby First Nations, as you say, not right on the route. Is that important to you?
It is because there are 2 Métis organizations in British Columbia. There's the Métis Nation, which has signed an equity agreement with Enbridge, and then there's the BC Métis Federation, which is against Enbridge, and has actually polled all of the Métis in British Columbia and found out that 90% of them are opposed to the project. Now, having said that, the Métis themselves say they have no land. So for Enbridge to go to a group that actually has no land on the pipeline route, again, just as they've done with other First Nations, they have gone and found people who they can convince to sign an equity agreement that actually don't have land on the pipeline route.
So you're saying they shouldn't be entitled to be inside that count?
Well, I don't mind, if Enbridge wants to give people benefits, but to state that you are signing agreements with people who actually are impacted by the project is a false statement. The wall of opposition to the pipeline is as large as it's ever been, if not larger, and Enbridge is, as usual, blowing up numbers that seem to favor their ideas as opposed to, on the other side, they underestimate the impacts on people.
Well, let's just recall what the stakes are. The company said the 10% share in the pipeline is expected to be worth as much as $280 million over the 30-year life of it.
Right.
That's pretty appealing, I would think. For
I wouldn't find that very appealing at all. And I'll give you an example. I had an opportunity to look at the agreement that the Gitxsan signed before their chiefs told them to scrap it. And that agreement would have given an individual Gitxsan $30 a year. That's absolutely embarrassing. That's worse than the beads that were offered in the last century.
Well, last night, Enbridge's representative told us the company's prepared for some First Nations to block the pipeline in court, and if that happens, is that something you're considering?
Oh, absolutely. We will use all means at our disposal to stop this project, and not the least of which is Aboriginal rights and title in British Columbia.
So you're definitely going to court 60% or no 60%, is that what you're saying?
Well, there are no 60% along the pipeline route. So the vast majority, if you take the numbers west of Prince George, and you're looking at probably less than 20% west of Prince George to Kitimat. That doesn't count everybody on the coast that's opposed. That 20% along the pipeline route, 80% of them are willing to do whatever it takes to stop this project.
A court fight would be long, protracted, and expensive. Where will the money come from to battle Enbridge, its international backers, and the Canadian government?
Oh, we have all kinds of British Columbians who are stepping up to the plate. I have people calling me every day and asking what they can do to help, and they're saying that if they're not able to stand beside us or do anything, that they would love to donate money to help us fight this in the courts. How
much is in the legal chest so far?
Oh, how much is in Enbridge's? You tell us that, and we'll tell you what we got in our pot.
Mr. Sterritt, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Art Sterritt is the Executive Director of BC's Coastal First Nations. We reached him in Vancouver.